Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are watching the TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan for Monday, May 4th. I will say Monday because no one ever says Monday, and Manila's not here to chastise me for that. Thanks for joining us. We're here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, with a lighter and more esoteric take on the news that you will get over on Deprogram. Thank you for tuning in if you're following us over from Deprogram, and if you're not, thank you as well. Good morning. Robbie West is filling in for Manila Chan. Manila Chan gave birth 2 weeks ago this coming Wednesday to her second kid. She already had the son. Now she has the daughter. She has the full set. I guess she needs an intersex to have the really full set, but that's for the future. We don't know when Manila will be coming back. She's taking this day by day. Anyone who's had a kid or known anyone who had one knows how this goes. So without further ado, good morning, Robbie. Shall we just get straight to it?
Yeah. Let's just get right onto it. We lost the intro. The handshaking took a little bit longer, but that's fine. People are here for us, not the intro video.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful intro video, and we miss it. And I'm almost sexually attracted to that intro video. Not really. Okay, here we go. I love this story. Okay, so this is an owner of a Tesla just won $10,600 in court after he sued Tesla over a failed promise. So he was told that his Tesla would drive itself. However, full self-driving mode has never actually delivered on the promise. The guy's name is Ben Gawiser. He bought a Tesla Model 3 in 2021, 5 years ago. He paid $10,000 extra for what is presented by the company as full self-driving software. Over the last few years, the price of that software, full self-driving is the name, has slowly increased as updates have continued to improve its capabilities. By the way, Robbie, I didn't know this, but my ex-wife, she has a Tesla. She told me this. It's the weirdest thing in the world, right? Like I'm always told, well, a Tesla is less like a car and more like a computer that happens to have a car attached. Okay, fine. But basically, you can, like, the car will drive a certain speed when you roll it off the lot. But Robbie, you can like download software from from Wi-Fi that will then allow your car to drive faster or have other features like full self-driving. So in other words, it rolls out of the lot less able to do, in other words, intentionally not allowing you to do everything that the car is mechanically capable of doing. And then they upsell you so that you can, drive as fast, for example, as the car's engine would allow you to drive. Is it me or is that weird?
That's incredibly weird.
Okay.
I mean, me personally, I don't think I would ever own a Tesla.
That to me is seriously a braking thing. That's yeah.
Well, it's just, for example, with the Cybertruck, we covered the story before where if you have to get out in an emergency, it's almost impossible to do so. Like if you're in a rollover crash and the Tesla's burning, you've got to reach up under the floor mat to find the lever that's going to let you disengage the lock on the inside because there's no handle.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, talk about being overly engineered to the point terrifying. Of retardation.
Yeah, and there's no let's just say you're lucky enough that first responders arrive right after your crash. They can't enter the car because the windows are like a tank, and there's no doorknob on the outside, and you can't even unlock it to allow someone to like open the door. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I see those firefighters there, I want them to be able to open the door, whether I'm conscious or not.
I mean, I would like to think that if emergency responders are responding to a wreck, that they would be able to get whoever's in there out. Yeah, I think that the basic things. Now, listen, I understand that companies want to make it sleek and pretty. Of course, the Cybertruck is probably the ugliest thing on the road, and something new, something edgy. But I mean, can we at least keep basics?
Like, by the way, there's a documentary about Elon Musk that claims that the design of the design of the Cybertruck, the design of the Elon Musk, that the design of the Cybertruck is derived and inspired from the shape of the trucks that the apartheid regime of the Republic of South Africa used to drive around the townships with the black townships with to terrorize the local population, and that would drag them to arrest them, and that Elon basically intentionally, as a troll, drew the design from that.
I mean, listen, I could, from one troll to another, I can see why he would do that. I mean,
if it's true.
Yeah, if it's true.
I'm color me skeptical. Okay. I mean,
yeah, I don't,
like,
I
mean, maybe, but really?
Well, the thing is, he has investors, right? So I mean, they're going to maximize profit share and stuff. And no, Elon's out there throwing the Roman salutes at rallies and things, which
Roman.
I could see it. I mean, if you are a fan of the Roman Empire, I can see why you would be wanting to throw Roman salutes. And I'm saying Roman deliberately here because because you insist that we be on YouTube, so I can't just be unfiltered. I do. And so maybe,
and we're on X right now too. So
yeah. No, we are.
Hi, Elon. Yeah, and we know Elon watches the show, which we appreciate.
Oh, I've actually been talking to Elon about becoming a full-on investor of the show.
Excellent.
But he says, you have to do the show topless.
Oh, I would. If Elon comes on as a full-on investor, I will do the show topless. I think we will lose what remaining viewers we have, but that's just how it goes. All right.
Listen, you don't need viewers to be successful. I mean, look at Mark Levin. His YouTube channel gets fewer views than what Deprogram does.
Do any podcasters, male podcasters, do a topless show? I don't know. I mean, it's legal, right? Guys are allowed to walk around topless. In New York, girls are allowed to. In New York State, girls are allowed to legally walk around topless. And every now and then that's tested because there was some court case a number of years ago. And so every now and then, like New York women, a group of them will like ride the subway topless and stuff. I'm like, man, I hope they take a serious shower afterwards because it's like the subway.
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to walk around topless, if a man or a woman, I don't think I would pick a city as disgusting and filth-filled as New York. I'd probably go someplace that's cleaner.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. All right. So anyway, moving on with full self-driving software. Anyway, this was back when you could pay upfront for full self-driving software, which is now only available as a subscription. Ben waited 5 years, but the car never developed the ability to drive itself. Full self-driving. So if you ask Tesla fanboys, they will tell you that Elon Musk never promised a fully autonomous car. He was just saying that a fully autonomous car is possible with Tesla's technology, but that it wouldn't happen right away. But this isn't true. Tesla's been claiming that FSD would enable autonomous driving going all the way back 10 years. In 2021, Elon said that this car will drive itself for the reliability in excess of a human this year. He later said, you can use your personal Tesla as a robo-taxi. This is not a vague discussion of possibilities. This is a forthright statement that full self-driving would allow autonomous driving. So that's what Ben and other people paid for. And while some Tesla owners are willing to forego what they were promised out of brand loyalty, the fact is that drivers are not getting what they were promised. So earlier this year, Tesla's official X account shared various stories about blind people and frail elderly women using full self-driving to regain freedom to drive again. It also claimed that full self-driving can help prevent hydroplaning. A lot of drivers in the electric vehicle community drew concerned, sharing stories of full self-driving malfunctioning, particularly in bad weather. Meanwhile, Musk was sued after a father and son died when the case claimed that Musk's promises led to their demise. Finally, Musk got on an earnings call and admitted that full self-driving is not actually autonomous and is nowhere near it. He promised another update, one that was also not capable of autonomous driving and that will probably not follow through as planned. So Ben Gawiser bought full self-driving for $10,000 after Musk claimed that his car would be fully autonomous by then, calling it a level 5 self-driving car. So the however, the software has improved, but it's nowhere near the claim. Tesla's robotaxis don't even drive autonomously, often requiring a human driver in the front seat or following behind it. By late 2025, Ben Gawiser contacted Tesla by email. He asked for a refund, saying, "Hey, FSD never worked." The email was quite heated, with Ben telling Tesla about the times his vehicle stopped in the middle of the road and failed to slow down in school zones. Bottom line, FSD is still at level 2, which requires human supervision. In January of this year, 4 months ago, he emailed again. Finally, Tesla got back to him. They said to go to a service center to see if his full self-driving was working right, but that still wouldn't get him to level 5. At this point, he filed a lawsuit in Travis County, Texas, small claims. It cost him $73 to file the suit. Tesla didn't respond after getting served. A court date was set, and the hearing happened over video. Gawiser showed proof of purchase, as well as proof that full self-driving mode does not live up to Musk's many promises. The court ruled in his favor. According to Electrek, Tesla filed a request for an extension, claiming that it never received notice of the hearing. Lies. However, Tesla did not request another hearing and did not submit any evidence to prove that Ben Gawiser was mistaken, so he keeps his $10,600. I guess the $600 is interest, maybe. So it's just basically he got a refund. They didn't, that's small claims doesn't give you any, any damages for pain and suffering or for inconvenience or anything. It's not punitive damages. So that's basically it. It's like, so the thing is, if other people who bought this, and there are many hundreds of thousands of them, were to sue, they could cite this as precedent and they would probably win. I mean, why aren't people holding tech companies like Tesla, and Tesla particularly, accountable for selling them a product that doesn't work as advertised?
I think probably what it is that the stereotype, and I think it's probably rightly earned, is that they've got more money than God. And so if you took them to court, you would lose because they would just stall it out. I think that's probably what it is. I don't think it's because of any kind of apathy or love for the tech companies. I think it's just because they can't afford the legal bills and the tech bros can.
Agreed. Yeah. I thought it was interesting.
Oh, I mean, it's a great story. I mean, I don't really understand how it would work with our current infrastructure. I mean, you would need to have 5G or even 6G integration. And then you got to figure out how it's going to work with topography. You got to figure out how is this going to work with the landscape, especially if you're in a city. It's really dense. You have all these buildings, you have all these people, you have all these cars, and you got to be able to intelligently map everything that's out there. AI is just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, we already know there's been, this show and others have done so many stories about, crashes and fatal crashes involving, people who are like, they go into auto mode and they're supposed to keep their hands on the wheel, but they kick back and on their phones, and then like the car hits a wall or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just not there yet. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll probably get there, right? But then we're still always going to there's always going to be mishaps and mistakes.
I mean, what I don't understand, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to show my ignorance here. This is why I should never, ever, ever be your permanent co-host. I don't understand why big cities and small towns don't invest in real mass transit, whether it's a bus system or something else, a train or a trolley or a bus or something, to incentivize people to drive less and to take mass transit more. And again, I'm showing my ignorance here because they want the registration for the cars. That's a big part of it. They're making money off of drivers. But it's just, from an infrastructure standpoint, it would be much easier to handle a mass transit system than it's ever going to be trying to figure out how to make smart cars and dumb cars and retarded people all live on the same road together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like it's look, your point is taken, right? I mean, the main advantage of, I think, self-driving cars, besides the obvious convenience of not having to pay attention to the road, is the fact that theoretically, you'd be able to have a lot more traffic move a lot faster on highways, right? Basically, the cars would all get in and drive very close to each other, much closer distance than they can drive safely today. They'd all be synced up. And so therefore, you'd be able to eliminate a lot of traffic jams. That's the main advantage. And traffic would just move faster on highways. And it's true. You can, I mean, what is that basically? A bunch of cars in a traveling close together fast is called a train. So you're just reinventing something that goes back like nearly 200 years. Why not just go use that?
Well, you use a magnetic rail. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's seriously what you could do. But for whatever reason, it's just, we try to over-engineer everything to the point that it breaks. And listen, I get it. People like their cars, people like their trucks, people like to be able to go. It's a large transcontinental country. You're never going to be able to get rid of cars. Plus, hell, Ted, you've been here. There's places where you got to have a truck to go. I get it. I understand. I'm talking about though in the town though. I'm talking about in the cities. Why can't we have nice things? I mean, couldn't we stop funding Israel and NATO for maybe 3 years?
The thing is, like high-speed rail, trains are expensive for sure, right? But of course, I won't get into the fact that we demolished and dismantled our train system, years ago, and we shouldn't have done that. But the point is, it was built once; it can be built again, and in many ways, we would need better and different rails now for high-speed rail anyway, right? It's a different system, but we could do that. It's expensive, but it's not as expensive as war.
I mean, we could pay for it, and you don't have to raise taxes to do it. You can cut expenditures for things that you already have.
I agree with that.
It's not hard. And Manchild, he gave a $1 donation. Ted, he says nobody says Meunier, Ted.
Well, I do.
Oh, and Well Dressed Nerd says that Andrew Tate does his podcast topless.
Well, that's an excellent. But I have to say, he's a little more ripped than I am.
Yeah, and
a little bit. And also more insane.
Yeah. I mean, he got kicked in the head too much.
Clearly. Okay, let's move on here. All right. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have switched to healthcare insurance that covers a lot less of their care starting this year. Republicans like this trend and hope that a lot more people will do that. This shift was driven by the fact that in late December, Republicans refused to increase the help that the government provides to people who don't get insurance through work, but instead buy it in the Obamacare marketplace, either federally or in their state online marketplace. The reduction in those subsidies sent Obamacare consumers searching for plans that cost less. The cheaper plans, however, don't cover the first several $1,000s in sick visits, drugs, and surgeries that a patient needs. Nearly 4 out of 10 Obamacare enrollees are in these high deductible plans now, compared to 3 out of 10 a year ago. Yeah, I don't know who these first several $1,000 people are. My deductible is $12,000 a year. Trump and GOP senators want to encourage more people to go that route by shifting remaining subsidies, which are now used to reduce monthly premiums, into tax-advantaged savings accounts that come with the high deductible plans. That would work well for rich people in good health who use the savings accounts to accrue wealth, but really not for anybody else, like sick people or poorer people who incur big medical bills that they can't afford to pay. For Republicans, they're okay with it, considering that the plans reduce the overuse of the healthcare system and put downward pressure on prices. The president has clearly said that we need to send money to patients rather than insurers in this system, and building out policies that are consistent with that is important, says Brian Blace, president of the right-wing Paragon Health Institute and an advisor to Trump during his first term. Should also be pointed out, by the way, that not only the insurance companies and the healthcare industry, but also big banking loves those private healthcare savings accounts because they're the ones who make profits on them and maintain them. But the inequitable outcomes for patients are a problem. Many high deductible customers are chasing after that lower premium but they actually do need to use care on an ongoing basis, especially older people. Then they end up with a lot of debt or being terrified to use their insurance or seek care and ignoring symptoms. That, according to Catherine Hempstead, Senior Policy Advisor at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, a progressive healthcare-focused philanthropy. The president bragged about his great healthcare plan at Turning Point USA 2 weeks ago, promising to get it done one way or the other. Donald, we've been hearing this for 10 years from you.
Yeah.
Among Republicans on Capitol Hill, both Trump allies like Senator Rick Scott of Florida and adversaries like Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana are trying to help. Cassidy says he thought most people would come out ahead given the lower premiums and tax savings. Your total cost of being insured is less, he said. So, I mean, basically, look, these sort of, they're called like high risk plans. They work well, or they work well enough if, let's say, you're 28 years old, you're in good health, and you make a good salary. Then you don't really need to pay like, $1,000 or $1,200 a month for healthcare because, at the end of you're not going to ever spend through a normally $12,000 or $13,000 a year on healthcare. You just know you don't have that much going on. But for anybody else, it's really dangerous. You can, if you're like someone like when my mom fell and broke her hip, and the next thing you know, she turns around with a $1.2 million medical bill for just like basically 6 days at the hospital and a hip replacement, right? Where it's not like she became the bionic woman. They did a hip replacement, which is a pretty common procedure nowadays. But because of you worked in healthcare, know all about it. And I'm looking forward to your thoughts about this, Robbie. But it's just it seems to me like what this is really is that the Republicans don't have a plan, and they kind of are like pretending like, look, this is what we intended all along. But basically, this is just like people are struggling to keep their heads above water, and this is what they're doing. But this isn't a plan. It's just what's going on, and you're pretending like it's a plan. And I wonder if Democrats had any brains, they would be able to sort of make this into a Marie Antoinette kind of thing. Like, for Republicans, it's like, let them eat high risk plans. And if Democrats could propose a Bernie care kind of situation, Medicare for all, then they'd be in a better, because Americans disapprove of Trump on healthcare. And I don't think this is going to help.
Well, the Republicans have the same plan that the Democrats have, which is no plan.
Right.
That's the problem. And this is a bipartisan problem. And the bipartisan problem is that neither political party gives a single rip about people. They don't. They care about their donors. Listen, there's a reason why if you turn on Fox News or CNN or any of these other shows that you have so many pharmaceutical ads. They're not trying to sell you the pill. They're capturing the news broadcast that's bringing the news. That way they don't criticize the pharmaceutical companies that are paying for it. They're paying for them. That's the business model. That's what it is. It's corporate capture. So this is called what it is. And if they buy news networks, they're also buying politicians. I mean, this is a no-brainer. What we need, again, this is from a right-winger, we need universal insurance. We're just done. That's what we need. Because our system right now, and I tell this to people, and they say, Robbie, have you gone communist? So you have to understand, we already live in a hybrid system anyway, where the profits are privatized and the losses are socialized. That's what people don't understand about the way our system works. Our system is not designed to make you better. Our system is designed to treat the symptoms. That way you keep going back to the doctors because you are a commodity. If they cure you of your illness, they lose a customer. That's not the goal here. That's not the objective here. And people just, for whatever reason, are unable to grasp this really basic, simple fact. This is by design. There's a reason why. Ted, you use Obamacare.
I do.
Fact check me if I'm wrong on this. Not only can you not compete against state lines, a lot of times you can't even compete across county lines.
Oh, in New York, you definitely cannot compete across county lines at all.
It is a monopoly. That's why. That's one of the reasons why
I literally am like still. I moved fairly recently, and I still use my healthcare insurance in my old county because it has some. It actually has some more plans and far more doctors. I would basically not have medical care at all, and that will be the case at the end of this year. When I'm no longer able to get away with that, right? I guess if I make sure my mail forwarding works right, I might be able to pull it off. But I basically commute in order to use the doctor because otherwise, it's just not going to work where I am now.
Yeah, well, it's just like Thomas. He had an ingrown toenail. And of course, being a normal teenage son, he tells me, "Hey, Dad, my foot's hurting. There's something wrong here." Inside, he's Vince said, you ignore it. Till you can't ignore it. Then he decided he was going to perform some surgery using a pocket knife. That did not work out so well. He ended up getting infected. We went to urgent care last week.
I assume he didn't know to use a match to heat up the knife first and sterilize it.
No, he did. But the problem is by the time he did this, he got infected. So by the time we got to the doctor, they end up having to remove the toenail down to the bed. Oof. And just drain all this pus and all this muss out.
Oh, my balls are crumpling up just thinking about that.
And the doctor is just like, I really feel better if you went to a podiatrist. I said, well, here's the problem. I said, we have no insurance because we have no insurance.
Which is, by the way, something that doctor hears every fucking day, all day long, right?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And so, back when I worked at Logan Health, before I got doxxed by a Zio, we had health insurance. The only person in my family now that has health insurance is Kizzy. And thank God for it, because when she was diagnosed with those tumors, we would have been completely just destroyed economically without it. Yeah. But I like my wife more than I like money. So you do what you got to do.
Right.
And so our system from the top down needs to be completely and totally replaced. And the only way that this is going to happen is that people have got to get serious and elect a handful of congressmen, because Congress is so divided right now. You can hold government hostage with these must-pass bills like an NDAA or a supplementary budget or whatever, and force concessions. But you got to have at least 15 to 20 congressmen out of 535 to be able to just hang together across the aisle and say, until these issues are met, nothing is going to happen. We will bring the country to its knees until we get this, until we force a vote. That's the problem. These things never even get out of committee.
Well, yeah.
And that's the problem with the squad. Well, yeah. And that's what I'm saying, is that you got to have enough people from the populist right and the left to get elected, fully understanding they're going to be serving for one term because it's going to be political suicide, not giving a rip, and actually doing the thing that they run for Congress for, which is. Do you think
conservatives can ever, right wingers, conservatives, Republicans, whatever? Do you think that they can be proselytized into getting on board with the idea of socialized medicine / national health care / Medicare for all, something like that? Because it's very frustrating to liberals. They see that flyover country, the red states are the states that didn't do Medicaid expansion, that they have the lowest rate of insurance in the country, and yet there doesn't seem to be any kind of popular pressure on the part of the voters against their elected representatives to try to get this done.
Well, I'm a right winger, and I've come to your way of thinking. I read your book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I can't. But unfortunately, most right wingers haven't read my book.
But
even just from personal experience, you would just think that having gone through the bullshit of our crappy best healthcare system in the world, that everybody, left, right, middle, everything, that they would just say, look, there's a better way. Everyone overseas does it better. I don't get why this is not something. And by the way, lefties seem very happy with Obamacare, which blows, right? Yeah. Like, Obamacare is by county, as you pointed out, Robbie. The vast majority of counties in this country have no competition in the marketplace, right?
None.
There's 0 or 1 plan available in the marketplace, maybe 2, but basically the whole idea was that they would compete against each other, and that would, that would benefit consumers. That just hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen. And but Democrats are like, this is pretty much done. I always quote Lincoln Steffens, the great early 20th century muckraking journalist, good friend of Theodore Roosevelt's, who said that the problem with a half measure is that it dulls the appetite. And if a man needs, for example, a full loaf of bread to survive, but you give him a half loaf, he'll lose the incentive to seek the half loaf, but he's still going to starve to death because he needs a full loaf. And he's not going to get it, right? But he's like, well, I ate a little bit. And that's kind of what happened with Obamacare. When Obama came in 2009, there was a huge outcry for, kind of a solution to our broken healthcare system. And now, aside from shooting CEOs, no one's really looking for a solution.
Well, we're on YouTube, so I'll be careful about how I say this. A few more well-placed rounds would not hurt my feelings at all.
Mine neither.
Because these people, they are monetizing suffering, pain, and death.
Yeah, they're horrible people.
They are, and I have no problem at all with them going to go meet Jesus. I think that's something that needs to happen. And they're dangerous people, right? I mean, literally, they're dangerous because they are physically hurting people. Yeah, and Jenny Guy over on YouTube makes a very good point. From my right-wing fans, the coercive measures during COVID made them afraid of government have anything to do with healthcare, and that's
a good point.
That's 100% true. Now, here in Montana,
there's crossover there between the left and the right to follow through our discussion from deprogram. I mean, a lot of people on the left, when it came to the whole, Fauci industrial complex. A lot of people on the left were the only people who were on the same, who, made common cause with people on the right.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's just a big part of it is, once you do this, you've given up a level of control to the government that you can never get back. The argument that I make, and I've made this argument at church, you've already given up that power anyway. When healthcare became the conglomerate that it is now, and you drove small independent doctors out of business, you've already surrendered that power in the first place. You don't have it. You don't have a choice. Well, you do. I mean, you could just stay home and die, or you can go to the doctor. There is no choice. There is no such thing as medical choice in the United States.
Anyway, look, here's the thing, right? Like, unless you're so far libertarian that you don't think that there should be a nation state at all, or a state at all, let's put it that way. The fact is, what is government for, right? I mean, government is where they collect our taxes, and they're supposed to provide certain services in return. That's right. I mean, so this to me seems like providing healthcare is something that not only is government, it's an appropriate tool for government. It's really kind of like the only entity that can do it, because you need a very powerful national authority to govern something like this, because it's a big enterprise. We've tried to schism it by county and by state, and we've kept it private, and it just doesn't work. And so, to me, that's the whole thing, right? Like, it's like libertarians can never answer my question. Like, who builds roads? Who creates the fire department? Oh, we all do this locally. Yeah. Okay, but who builds the roads that go between your localities, right? Oh, right. Well, it's like, it doesn't, you're not answering my question, and I don't think you can answer my question. I just don't see it's kind of like high-speed rail. Who else can do it, right? Like, a wealthy company can't do it and won't do it. So it has to be the government.
The biggest pushback that you're going to get from the right on the topics of universal health care is going to be immigration. Let me give you an example. There's a missionary that we support. Get a load of this. He's a missionary from Tennessee in Cardiff, Wales. Why would there be a missionary in Cardiff, Wales from Tennessee in the United Kingdom? The reason is because more than 50% of the population of Cardiff is now foreign-born. They're immigrants. 50%. So think about that. The domestic population is being eradicated. You're importing,
well, in one city, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, demographic change is a real thing. So,
sure, but it's one city. I just want to be clear here. It's not the entire. It's not even a.
Well, look at London. I mean, London's minority is majority minority now. So I mean, this is a topic that's
all right. Well, anyway,
that's happening. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that before the right will ever get on board with this, immigration's got to be stopped, because you cannot come here from the country which you come to suckle on the government tit to get free healthcare and free education, all this other stuff, without buying in and actually assimilating to the society which you go to.
Okay,
that's the pushback that you get from the right.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Now, the argument that people like me would make is, listen, we have the people who are already here. So there's a two-part question. What do we do with them just in terms of decency? And we've had that discussion. Let's not
deport them. That's easy. That's the easiest thing in the world.
Okay, but my point is, until we do, okay, the point is those people, as we saw during the pandemic, they can spread disease, right? I mean, we're all in it together when it comes to public health. I don't care if, what you're talking about. If it's hantavirus, if you're talking about, STIs, you're talking about whatever, people, they commingle, and so they spread disease and contagion to each other. So as long as you have, I mean, basically you can't look at citizenship can't be an important consideration when you're talking about providing national health care.
Are you kidding? It's the only consideration.
And I would say, well, what about tourists? Wait, what about tourists? It's like people who are here on a tourist visa, they get sick. I mean, an American medical, national healthcare system has to be able to take care of them, even just to protect our own.
Okay, that's a distinction that without a difference. Is a tourist a migrant?
No.
Okay,
a tourist is a tourist.
There you go. Listen.
And if I'm in Turkey, for example, I only have to pay a very modest amount of money to get healthcare.
I get that. And I'm about to surprise you here. I'm not anti-tourist. I don't think we should be letting tourists drop dead from medical emergencies, in the country which they're visiting. If you're a tourist and if you get sick, absolutely get treated. Go with God. All is well. I'm talking about migrants. I'm talking about people who flood your country legally and illegally for the sole purpose of looting your country for social benefits that they cannot get in the shithole country from which they spawn.
Or just surviving.
That's right. Listen, I do not care. Listen, if you want to buy in from the right, I'm telling you, this is what you're going to have to do.
No, I understand.
Your lefty friends. Your lefty friends are have to. This is the concession that you want to have. We all want universal health care. Great, right there with you. You want to throw an abortion with it? Fine. The requirement, though, immigration must end. Period. Full stop.
I'm surprised to hear you say that you would make a concession on abortion.
That's how important immigration is. Because, listen, demographics is destiny. If you import 1 million people to Tokyo from, say, Botswana, is Tokyo still going to be a Japanese city? The answer is no, because they've been replaced by Botswanans. Is Cardiff a Welsh city when more than half of the population is foreign-born? Part of it is. A lot of it's not. Demographics is fundamental. It is destiny.
But those demographics change all the time, right? I mean,
Okay,
Britain was a Roman province, right?
Remind me again, Ted. What is by your own definition? What is the government's first job?
It's to define the clear borders of the state and protect those borders.
Correct, and also to work for the people who are born there, right? The citizens.
True.
Okay, then you're breaking your contract right there with this immigration BS.
Look, I personally believe that there's no reason to allow new immigration into the United States. I don't believe that there should ever be economic immigration as long as we have any unemployed people at all or underemployed people. one question, and I haven't really given this all any thought, so I'm just throwing it out there now because it just crossed my mind. What about what do you think should happen in a situation where organically, let's say your son is traveling overseas and he meets a lovely young lady and falls in love with her? Mm-hmm. Should he be able to marry her and bring her back to the United States?
Sure, because that's not mass immigration. That's one person getting married to a citizen. You do it through the legal process and you get to come in. Like, for example, when you visited Montana, did I invite you into my house or did you kick the door open?
Well, it would, given what you have behind you right now, it would have been a bad idea to kick open your door.
100%. That's why this is here, because right now, listen, in the apartment complex that we live in, I would have to be very careful about this because of YouTube. We have 20 units in the apartment building that I live in. Mm. We currently have 12 Hispanic people who have moved in. And since that time, the crime rate here has increased dramatically. Now, now, am I saying they're responsible? I have no idea. However, the reason why this rifle is right here is because if somebody comes through my door and they're not invited, I am going to shoot them.
Yeah, and you have every right to do that legally.
A nation's borders are the same exact thing. If you come into a country uninvited, you are an invader. What do you do to invaders? You shoot them. This is not complicated.
I do like this comment from Land the Jolly, or Ian the Jolly. To stop immigration, what you need from the left is the right stop acting like America is the promised land. You can't tell people we're so much better than them, but they're not allowed to come here. It is true that Republicans are constantly sending out the message that, we're the shining city on the hill. We're exceptional. Everyone wants to come to the United States. I mean, Republicans, I know you're not Republican, but Republicans have been effectively inviting illegal immigration and legal immigration for decades.
Of course,
because they want the cheap labor.
Yeah, it's just like what P.W. Walker just said. By that logic, Robbie, that H-1B visas isn't mass immigration. H-1B visas should be illegal.
I am so against H-1B.
It should never, listen, I really try not to cuss, but I'm going to cuss right now. H-1B visas are the biggest fucking scam ever.
They're a racket, no question.
They should never have been a thing. Agreed. Trump's gold card, where he's selling, is our citizenship so cheap as Americans now that you can buy it for $1 million?
Apparently,
is that what it costs now to be an American? Is that seriously?
It is disgusting.
H-1B visas from all immigration is the thing that I hate the most, because it is a direct attack on the working class of the United States of America and by the fucking government that we fund.
And the best and the brightest, right? Like Americans who work really hard in school and go to like our top technical schools and our top colleges and universities and graduate with very difficult degrees in engineering from places like MIT and Caltech, and they can't get a fucking job. Because I do curse. So as you well know.
And Mabu, she's come out. Robbie, if you're anti-H-1B, you also have to be pro-socialized education for all kids. I am. We need to have an educated workforce. But here's the thing, though, May. If you're able to import people from around the world, undercut American wages, then why do you need to educate your own people?
And that's exactly what the elite.
That's the whole fucking point.
And you're right, and that's what they do. Peter Ive, thanks so much for the $2. Several years ago, I got sick in Venice, Italy. The doctor came to the hotel, treated me, and the Italian system did not charge me. We all have stories like that. I have tons of them. Yeah, no, that's totally true. Not just Italy.
Ted, if you ever ran for president, I would vote for you, have a campaign for you, and we disagree on. We agree on a lot. We disagree on a lot. But what we can agree on is that at the end of the day, the most important thing, the most important thing, is to have an economy where someone can get married and have kids and have a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance to build a real life.
Agreed.
That's it. For me, and this is going to sound really stupid and naive, okay? I think that the best metric to see how healthy a society is can you afford to have kids and do you want to?
Oh, no, I agree. I think that's true. I mean, You can always see when a society has a declining birth rate. That's widely considered by demographers to be a sign of a society that's in decline.
Yeah, because it is. And so the answer to that then for the ruling class is not to import more people from around the world, especially if you're going to bring in people from other countries that don't have a shared language, that don't have a shared religion, that don't have a shared culture, that don't have shared values, and then you import them in. All that does is cause more and more resentment from both ways. For example, Israel, they're planning this year to have the largest gay pride parade ever on the Dead Sea, there where Sodom and Gomorrah were located before God destroyed them. Okay, fine, fair enough. You want to do that? Go ahead. Why is it? What would happen if you were to import, say, I don't know, 500,000 Muslims from Pakistan? Do you think that maybe they would object to having this massive gay pride parade in southern Israel? Probably. Why? Because Islam teaches that homosexuality is a sin, just like Christianity does, just like Judaism, Old Testament Judaism does, by the way. That's the problem. If you want to have these social values where you want to have gay pride parades, walk around down the street half naked and doing sex acts, then you probably should not be importing people from around the world who think that's an abomination. That causes problems. That causes friction. Or Ted, if you want to draw a cartoon of Jesus mocking him, you're 100% able to do that. If you went to Turkey and you drew a cartoon of Muhammad, it probably would not be a good life choice.
No, probably not.
And why is that? It's because cultures are different. People are the same. Cultures are different.
Yeah. As someone who travels a lot, I always respect other people's cultures and, follow the rules. I can't believe when Americans get into trouble overseas, and then, what he sort of like Brittany Griner. Oh, well, she only brought a little bit of cannabis oil with her into Russia. Yeah, but Russia has a rule: no cannabis, right? None. And it's like not a little bit. And it's like, well, it's not a big deal. It's not much. Okay, but you're not in the United States. You're in Russia. You should have followed their rules.
Yeah. Well, also, why is Russia so strict on drugs? Is because the United States was using opium as a way to wage war against the Soviet population in the Cold War. Yeah, that's why. It's just like China with no after the opium wars.
Yeah,
there's a reason why drug dealers get the death penalty.
Drugs destroyed these countries.
They do.
All right, we should move on. All right. This is super fun. More than 1,600 years after its disappearance, massive stones from the Lighthouse of Alexandria are being recovered from the Mediterranean seabed. Archaeologists have brought up massive stone blocks tied to one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. In the waters off Alexandria, Egypt, the submerged site known for decades is now yielding some of its most striking elements. The Pharos Project reports that 22 monumental stone blocks linked to the lighthouse have been lifted from the seabed after years of underwater exploration. Built in the 3rd century BCE, the lighthouse guided ships through dangerous coastal waters for centuries before its destruction. Its remains, scattered underwater, are now being carefully documented and analyzed. Huge stone blocks are being pulled from the depths. The recovered elements include lintels, doorjambs, thresholds, and paving slabs. Each block weighs between 70 and 80 tons, reflecting the scale of the original structure. The team, led by Isabel Harry at the CNRS, explains that these places likely formed part of the lighthouse's monumental entrance, where architectural styles combined Egyptian and Greek influences. Now, the presence of the remains has been known since back 1968, when the ruins were first observed beneath the water. A major step occurred in 1994 when Jean-Yves Empereur, the archaeologists, led a campaign that identified and cataloged more than 3,300 objects. Among these were sphinxes, obelisks, columns, and granite blocks, all spread across the seabed and linked to the lighthouse and surrounding structures. The latest recovery follows nearly 3 subsequent decades of continued research underwater. Earlier efforts had already mapped and documented many elements, but recent operations have made it possible to extract some of the largest and most significant pieces. The Pharos Project doesn't stop at recovering the stones. Each piece is scanned using high-precision photogrammetry, allowing specialists to create detailed digital models. The Dassault Systems Foundation indicates that the goal of this exceptional and spectacular operation is to study and scan these architectural elements, adding them to a collection of over 100 blocks already digitized underwater over the past decade. The digital models are then used to reconstruct the lighthouse virtually. Researchers approach the process as a large-scale puzzle where each block must be analyzed and positioned in relation to the others. Obviously, AI is going to help enormously with this. Yep. The researchers rely on the physical remains, but also on ancient descriptions and representations of the lighthouse. By combining these sources, the team aims to produce a coherent and accurate reconstruction of the structure as it once stood. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was built at the beginning of the 3rd century BCE under Ptolemy and designed by Stratatus of Cnidus. It stood on the island of Pharos and rose to a height of more than 100 meters, in other words, 330 feet, making it one of the tallest human-made structures of its time. For more than 1,000 years, it served as a guide for sailors navigating the Eastern Mediterranean. Its light and elevated position helped ships avoid hazards as they approached the busy port of Alexandria. The decline came after a series of earthquakes, with a major event in 1303 leaving the structure beyond use. Over time, its remaining stones were reused and basically mined and dragged off to other places. Quarry. Yeah. Historical records cited by the project say that back in 1477, many of these materials were incorporated into the construction of the Ketble Citadel built on the same site. Recovered stones and their digital models allow researchers to place the fragments back into their original setting, and now the lighthouse's form is gradually becoming more defined.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of just makes you just think about this, because the ancients, they did some really remarkable things, and it just makes you wonder, like, Egypt had by the time been conquered by the Muslims. The Romans have been driven out. It really makes you wonder, because Alexandria then, like it is now, has been a major port. Why didn't they invest in the maintenance of the lighthouse? It's just unimportant to them to just figure that, sailors don't need to see where they are. It doesn't matter. They can just run. They can just come on in. I don't understand why they didn't maintain the lighthouse. Of all of the 7 wonders, that's probably one of the ones that could have been preserved and have a practical purpose even today.
Well, their government structures kind of went through a period of chaos, right? You referenced the Islamic invasion, right? But of course, obviously, Egypt was a Roman vassal state by basically the about 2,000 years ago, and then then Rome retreated, and Egypt fell into chaos. So it would have been up to the Egyptians to maintain it. There was no more emperors after Cleopatra.
I mean, the Emperor Hercules, the Eastern Roman Empire emperor, he's the one that fought the last war against the Persians, where they fought each other to a stalemate, exhausted both countries, and that opened the door for the Muslims to invade and conquer Persia and take over all of North Africa, and including Egypt and the Levant.
But even by Cleopatra, they were weak.
Well, sure, but I mean, the Egyptians were, but the Romans weren't. Right. And the lighthouse was, I guess, around the 1000s was finally was torn down. It makes me wonder if they just thought that if there's treasure that was buried under it. There were rumors to that effect. Mm-hmm. But I mean, more to the point, though, I mean, by that time, the caliphate was established in Egypt. They could have maintained the lighthouse. It's just maybe this figure is just old. It was a relic of a pagan past, pagan/Christian, and we just don't care. I don't know. It just seems like they would have maintained it. You
think? I mean, I'm trying to figure out why that was. Trying to figure out why that would have been the case. It's so. Yeah, I mean, it was basically there wasn't like. Yeah, I guess it was part of the Byzantine Empire. Yeah,
it was. I mean, Hercules is widely considered the first crusader, because in the last war, I mean, there's real concerns that the Persians have pushed all the way to the gates of Constantinople. He was able to reverse it. He was able to take back all the lands that they lost. Persia was forced to pay reparations, but I mean, both empires were so weakened that when the Arabs stormed out of the Arabian Peninsula, neither empire had the strength to repel them.
Well, according to this, Byzantium was, this like so the Byzantines only, basically Egypt was conquered in 639 AD, right? So up until that point, Byzantium was relatively new. It had not accrued peak wealth, and they viewed Egypt not as like a central. They viewed it as an outlying vassal state, and a place to be looted, and basically as a breadbasket for Byzantium. So
that's why the bread dole in Constantinople ended, is with the fall of.
So they weren't going to spend money to prop up a lighthouse, right? They're basically they didn't care about it. The lighthouses that they cared about were on the Bosphorus.
But I'm not talking about the Byzantines. I'm talking about the Muslims after they conquered Egypt. They could have maintained it because they're involved in trade. They're also involved with piracy, and having that lighthouse would have been very helpful for them. Why didn't the Caliphate maintain the lighthouse?
Right, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look that up. I thought, one question is, do you think it's like a worthwhile endeavor to try to reconstruct it, to raise these giant heavy stones, to spend all the effort to do this, to try to reconstruct this thing? Or is it just sort of like, should it just be left at the bottom of the sea?
I have a mixed mind. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a graveyard for a civilization that no longer exists.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be nice to see how it is that they built it. What did they do? But it
could be a big tourist attraction.
It could be, but I mean, they've already got the pyramids. The other question that I have, though, would be who would be able to claim ownership of these? Because Islamic Egypt did not build the lighthouse; the Greeks did.
Yeah, it's obviously in Egypt. It's in their territorial waters.
Well, for sure. But I mean, it could be an interesting diplomatic row, right? It's kind of like how the Greeks are still pissed off because the Brits have the Pantheon marbles in the British Museum.
That's right.
So could this be something similar? Could Greece say, "Hey, listen, we made these things." So
yeah, but I'd say like
be here. Or maybe a custodianship.
The Greeks have a much better claim on what the English call the Elgin marbles than I think they would on, you built a lighthouse, in Egypt, and you haven't been there for 2,000 years. Sorry, sucks to be you.
Well, Jews haven't been back in Israel for 2,000 years, and yet here we are.
And in my view, they don't have a claim.
No, I agree with you, but I think that if Egypt and Greece are able to come to a partnership, like a custodianship, yeah, go ahead and do it. If they can't, then they need to leave them at the bottom of the sea. I think it's more of a political question at this point.
I think it's maybe an economic investment, right? For the Egyptians, it's like, hey, could we get a lot of tourists? I mean, would people want to come and see this thing? I mean, look at the Acropolis, right? It was completely blown up into bits by the Ottomans. And yet, it turned into a massive, it's without a doubt the biggest tourist attraction in Athens now. And they haven't managed to put it all back together, far from it, but it's been worth it.
Yeah. Have you ever been to is it Arles, France, where that Roman temple is just perfectly preserved? Have you ever been there?
I have. Al's, yeah.
What's it like?
It's stunning. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's a gorgeous thing. Yeah. It's just breathtaking. I've been to quite a few Roman ruins, and that is one of the best preserved. There's also some really great amphitheaters in Sicily that are well worth seeing. But yeah, in Al's, there's also they still have bullfighting in the Roman Colosseum there, and that Colosseum is in beautiful condition. So cool.
I really wish that we can invest in restoring these old things to remind Europeans of their legacy and their history. That would be awesome.
Well, the Europeans are well aware of their history. I mean,
immigration though, are they still?
Oh yeah, no, there's no question. Are you kidding? I mean, yeah.
No, I've never been, so I mean, I'm completely at your mercy here.
No. I mean, look, I can't speak to everywhere in Europe because I haven't been to every European country, but certainly to the ones I've been, Italy, France, Greece, they absolutely, Holland. No, history is always present. I mean, it's in a way, it's almost a burden for their young people because they come into a society that's thousands of years old, a culture that's, they have this, and it's like, I think subconsciously there's sort of this idea like, what am I going to do? What mark little old Ted am I going to make, on all this, growing up next to all this? I'm just going to be a flash in the pan. I'm going to wink out and die. And I think it's part of the reason that Americans think that they can, are a little bit more ambitious, or at least used to be, because they kind of live under the opposite delusion that they can make a big difference and make a mark on history. But without a doubt, that burden of history or that legacy, depending on how you look at it, it's front and center, I think, in the European psychology.
Do you think that with the rise of right-wing nationalism in Europe, do you think that could become a political force? Like, remember who you are, where you came from.
Oh, that's a big part of their thing, right? I mean, and so look, as you know, Robbie, history's always being fought over, right? Who does this belong to? What does it mean to be, say, French? What is France? What does it mean? What does France mean? What does Frenchness mean?
Is that a real question that people of France have?
Always, constantly. Yeah.
How do you think?
Now, the thing about the French is they have a lot of assimilation. They have a lot of foreigners, a lot of new arrivals. Let's put it that way. But the French are very militant about insisting that that you have to assimilate. So, for example, let's say, Robbie, you moved to France and for some reason you were able to become a French citizen. Let's say you married a French woman. You would be, they would look at you and they'd be like, okay, Robbie, okay, your formal name is Robert. Okay, that's okay because Robert is a French name. Robert is a French name. But if it wasn't, they would say, okay, you have to become a French national. You have to change your name to a French sounding name. For legal purposes. They have all sorts of stuff like that. You would be required to learn French and be tested for French fluency. There's all sorts of things like that. So it's not like you just show up and you're just, you don't adjust. You have to be French, act French, think French. That's why the burqa is illegal in France, for example.
Is that xenophobic and racist? That doesn't seem
like a lot of people view
society.
It as xenophobic and racist. And liberals think it's wrong, and they think that if you want to wear the burqa, you should be able to. And liberal French people think that. On the left, they think that. Other people think no, that's what it means to be French. Like, we don't do that shit here.
Where do you fall? You're a leftist.
I can really see both points of view. I do ultimately think that I do believe that the burqa is a tool of oppression, and
because it is.
And I think it's meant to sublimate women and to crush them. And even though it's cultural, I think it's a bad part of Islamic culture, and I don't have a problem with the French banning it.
So if you were able to vote today, like if there's,
but I don't feel strongly about it, if that makes sense.
Because you don't live there,
right?
I think that's probably,
and also because I'm not the one having to wear the burqa, right? So, but I do think, I won't lie, it's spooky to me. It's like when I see a woman, whether it's in the United States or hell in Saudi Arabia, all covered up like that. I think it's sad and horrible.
I think it's repugnant and repulsive, and I think it's a repressive culture. We should have nothing to do with it.
I just don't think. Look, it's certainly not French. For sure. When liberty, equality, fraternity is your national slogan, I don't see how that's compatible with women in burqas.
Does France have a character like a Nigel Farage, or is Marine Le Pen the best that y'all have?
Marine Le Pen is probably the best that France has for that. Yeah, and she's not going to be able to run for president next year, but her protege, Jordan Bardella, will be probably the candidate, I would think, although there's been talk that he wouldn't be for some reason. I'm not sure why.
No, I don't know. But
he's a small little man. He's the Pete Buttigieg of, I'm not saying he's gay. He might be gay, but he's like similar kind of type as Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, I get you. No, we'll go here. I'm going to say this real quick and then we'll go away. I think that if you're a Islamic immigrant and if you want to wear the burqa, you want to bring Sharia law someplace, then maybe immigrating to the West might not be for you. Maybe you should immigrate to an Islamic country that has those things already.
And with that, we will call it a show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. You've been watching the TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. Manila is still out. It hasn't even been 2 weeks since the birth of her new daughter. Congratulations again, Manila. We'll keep you posted about her. Robbie West, thank you so much for filling in. We will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, May 5th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. But before that, Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, please stay tuned to the Today program with Ted Rall and Jamal Thomas. Jamal should be back. That's our expectation.
Oh, question. Are we going to do the Q&A today?
Oh, yeah, let's skip the Q&A. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do it Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.